In central Gaza, a Palestinian artist sculpts 2026 in the sand to spotlight the ongoing crisis. The UN chief urges world leaders to prioritize development over war spending in 2026. Gaza authorities say more than 2.4 million people have faced genocide, starvation and displacement over 283 days. And now to New York, where organizers say a test run of the Times Square ball drop has been completed less than 24 hours before the New Year's Eve countdown. And officials switched on the New Year's Eve crystal ball, lighting it up and raising it above Times Square, then bringing it back down, confirming systems are ready for December 31st. Countdown Entertainment President Jeffrey Strauss said the ball went up, it came down, and they are ready. Organizers say the Constellation Ball is the biggest ever used for the event, featuring 5,280 crystals and LED light pucks. It will stay dark until the final countdown, just seconds before midnight.
Over 1 billion people around the world will celebrate the new year by watching that ball come down live.
And across to China, where cities are welcoming the new year with bright decorations, cultural performances and high-tech shows, drawing residents and tourists into a festive atmosphere. In Lijiang Old Town in Yunnan, locals in traditional Naxi dress and visitors joined hands around a bonfire for the Detiao dance, marking the start of the year with a community celebration. In Huaying City in Sichuan, a New Year carnival featured molten iron fireworks, a traditional folk art recognized as intangible cultural heritage, along with a large-scale drone show. In Shanghai, major shopping districts and landmarks were lit up with ornaments and colorful displays as malls extended operating hours and offered discounts to boost the holiday mood. And now we go live to Seoul, where crowds are gathering ahead of the New Year countdown and the city is getting ready to welcome 2026. As you can see, the celebrations are already in full swing, with live performers bringing the energy up as the countdown gets closer. The music and dancing are really setting the tone here, and you can feel the crowd building momentum, phones up, flags and light sticks in the air, everyone waiting for that midnight moment. It's a big, bright send-off to 2025, and in a city like Seoul, the atmosphere only gets louder from here. In central Gaza, a Palestinian artist has marked the end of 2025 by sculpting 2026 in the sand, hoping to draw global attention to the crisis in the enclave. Artist Yazid Abu Jarad created the sand sculpture on a beach in Deir el-Balah. He says the message is aimed at the world, urging people to keep Gaza's situation in focus as the new year begins. The artwork stands as a symbolic appeal amid ongoing hardship in the Palestinian territory, using a simple public gesture to call for awareness and solidarity. And Ukrainians are heading into the new year hoping for peace, but in Kyiv, celebrations remain subdued, with no major public venues funded and families planning to mark the night at home. Kyiv authorities have again not allocated funds for New Year's Eve venues, meaning no usual food courts or amusement rides in the main squares. Instead, there is only a small skating rink and a few stalls selling pastries and hot drinks. Surveys suggest more than half of the Ukrainians believe entertainment is currently prohibited. Many residents say they will celebrate quietly with family, trying to keep a sense of normal life. And economists say a modest New Year's table for a family of four will cost nearly $100, about 10% higher than last year, citing war-related economic losses, reduced production and higher energy and fuel prices. Meanwhile, daily life continues under air raid sirens, rolling blackouts, and ongoing heating and water problems. New Zealand has welcomed 2026 with a major fireworks display in Auckland, among the first celebrations worldwide. And the show began with a 10-second countdown projected onto the base of Auckland's Sky Tower before fireworks lit up the night sky. Organizers say fireworks were launched from 3 levels on the 328-meter tower, firing around 3,500 shots and reaching up to 80 meters above it. The display ran for about 5 minutes, using more than 500 kilograms of pyrotechnics, with the Auckland Harbour Bridge also illuminated as part of the celebration. And now to Scotland, where Edinburgh is gearing up for Hogmanay with fireworks set beneath Edinburgh Castle ahead of the city's New Year celebrations and street party. Fireworks have been laid out at the foot of the Edinburgh Castle ahead of the city's New Year display, the centrepiece of Edinburgh's Hogmanay celebrations. Organisers are expecting huge crowds in the city, with ticketed events and a major street party running through the night. The celebrations are set to bring tens of thousands into the capital as Edinburgh welcomes 2026 with a landmark fireworks show over the skyline. And the UN Secretary General is urging world leaders to shift priorities in 2026, calling for more investment in development and less spending on war. In this New Year message, Antonio Guterres said the world is at a crossroad, citing division, violence, climate breakdown, and what he called systematic violations of international law. The UN says more than a quarter of the humanity lives in conflict-affected areas. Over 200 million people need humanitarian assistance, and nearly 120 million have been forcibly displaced. Guterres warned global military spending has surged to a $2.7 trillion, up almost 10%, about 13 times total development aid. He urged leaders to fight poverty instead of fighting wars. A UN report also said a small share of current military spending could help end world hunger, vaccinate every child, and fund climate adaptation in developing countries. And now to Gaza, where the United Nations says hundreds of thousands are still struggling to survive in unsafe shelter despite the ceasefire. The United Nations says hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza are living in tattered tents or inside buildings at risk of collapse. The UN says humanitarian organizations continue receiving reports of airstrikes, shelling and gunfire despite the ceasefire. It says those conditions are compounding needs on the ground as families face limited shelter options and ongoing insecurity. And now to the Gaza aid deliveries, as the Egyptian Red Crescent says it has launched its 106th Zad el-Izza convoy from Egypt to the Strip. The Egyptian Red Crescent says the 106th Zad el-Izza from Egypt to Gaza convoy is heading towards the Gaza Strip with urgent humanitarian aid. It says the convoy is carrying around 5,300 tons of assistance, including more than 2,800 tons of food, parcels and flour, and around 500 tons of relief supplies, 600 tons of personal care items, and over 1,400 tons of petroleum products. And now to the Palestinian political track, where President Mahmoud Abbas says there can be no Palestinian state in Gaza alone and no Palestinian state without Gaza. Abbas said an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital and the return of refugees remains an inevitable reality, adding that work is continuing on reform plans for national institutions. He also said Palestinians will not submit to what he called the aims of the war, will not leave their homeland, and will confront what he described as annexation and displacement plans. The Gaza government said that more than 2.4 million people in the Gaza Strip have been subjected to a comprehensive war of genocide, along with systematic policies of starvation and ethnic cleansing over the course of 283 days. It noted that the occupation has destroyed approximately 90% of the Strip's urban infrastructure and has seized about 55% of Gaza's territory by military force. It also pointed out that the occupation dropped more than 112,000 tons of explosives on the Strip during 2025. And dozens of Israeli settlers entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound under the protection of Israeli forces earlier today, performing the Talmudic rituals and provocative tours. And according to the Jerusalem Governorate, 144 settlers entered during the morning raids, while 380 tourists accessed the mosque through the Israeli-controlled tourism gate. The incursions have drawn repeated Palestinian objections and widespread condemnation from Arab and Islamic countries.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين. وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Lebanese President Joseph Aoun affirmed that the current atmosphere in the country points to positivity on all levels. He added that diplomatic efforts with friendly and sisterly countries are ongoing to fully shield Lebanon from wars, considering that the specter of war has become distant, without completely ruling out all possibilities. He also noted that Lebanon enjoys a level of stability that is considered among the best in the world, according to foreign visitors, despite the challenges resulting from the large numbers of displaced people and refugees. The UNIFIL affirmed the importance of building on the relative stability achieved in Lebanon during the current year. UNIFIL stressed that it continues to support Lebanon and Israel in fulfilling their obligations under the Security Council Resolution 1701, which provides the legal framework for the cessation of hostilities and the enhancement of security along the Blue Line. The mission noted that ongoing coordination with the Lebanese armed forces and relevant parties aims to prevent escalation and address security incidents promptly, reaffirming its full commitment to its mandate of maintaining calm and stability in southern Lebanon. And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin. But before we wrap up, here's a recap of the top stories making headlines this hour. In central Gaza, a Palestinian artist sculpts 2026 in the sand to spotlight the ongoing crisis. The UN chief urges world leaders to prioritize development over war spending in 2026. And Gaza authorities say more than 2.4 million people have faced genocide, starvation, and displacement over 283 days. And do stay with us on Qnews for a full day of 2025 recaps. Up next, we begin our year in review with Egypt, the milestones, the momentum, and the moments that shape the story. It's the final broadcast of the year, and we're closing 2025 the way it deserves, with a full picture in focus. And that's just the start. Throughout the day, we'll track how power and policy evolved in the United States, the elections and shifts that reshaped the global map, the Ukraine war, and Europe's next chapter, and the Middle East's major flashpoints. We'll also break down the biggest economic moves of the year before closing with the stories that defined 2025 in climate, tech, science, and sports. A full day, 1 year, the headlines, the turning points, and what they mean going into 2026. Do stay with Q News, and a happy new year.